Let's dig right into healthy gut. This is a interesting quote that I pulled out of Vani Hari's book. She's also known as the Food Babe. In this quote, she's talking about how getting sick actually was kind of a good thing for her because her poor eating habits opened her eyes to a new way of living. I'm not going to read the thing to you; you can read it. But I had a very similar thing with myself. So I was. In a meditation course, and during this guided meditation, the meditation instructor said to think of something painful, something that was painful for you, something that was discomforting to you that you wouldn't change because of kind of where it's led you in your life. And for me, it was like my diagnosis of atrial fibrillation is the thing that I wouldn't change because it got me to wake up. If it wasn't that wake up call, something else would have been a wake up call later, and it might have been more difficult because I might have been older. It might have been I might have been a little more worse off. I might have had more diseases at the time, but I had a wake up call. So every disease that I got, I'm glad that I got them because it gave me the wake up call and the courage to go out there, research, find what I needed to do to get myself healthy, to set my family on the right course for health, and to hopefully help you. All right, so our course, we're gonna have our normal mindset moment. We're gonna talk about you taking action. We're gonna talk about why gut health is so important, what is destroying your gut, and then we're going to talk about how we can reverse that damage. Most of it is reversible, and then we will talk about taking action on reversing that damage. Essentially, mindset moment. If you only rely on willpower, you can only get so far. If you make simple changes in your lifestyle, you will feel better, and the willpower will come naturally. The discipline will come naturally. Dr. Chatterjee. Listen, willpower is something you can create, but really it's just the one thing that puts you one foot in front of another. Just look at the next goal. Don't look at the overall, hey, I got to lose 200 pounds or whatever that is. I got to lose 50 pounds. Think about the next pound. Think about getting to the next week and being down a pound. Think about the next bite of food you're putting in your mouth and make sure that it's healthy. Okay? Don't think about, oh, I got to eat healthy for the next week. Think about, I got to eat healthy for this meal. Okay. And then the next meal, I got to eat healthy for that meal. All right. It's no different than marathon runners will not think of the whole 23 miles. They think about the next thing they see on the horizon, right? Getting to that next thing. And then once they get to that, they pick the next thing. Think of things that way. And as you change your diet, and maybe some of you've noticed by now, I mean, you're a few weeks into the program. As you change your diet, you should notice that as you've taken a lot of the processed food and sugars out, you're not going to have the cravings that you used to have. So willpower becomes a lot easier. Though you got to be a little strong up front, but as you go, it becomes a lot easier. All right, reviewing your current action plan. By now, you should be making friends that lead healthy lifestyle, spending time with them. You should be practicing traffic light eating. You should be getting pretty darn good at that at this point. You should have started to eliminate toxic foods and toxins. You should be well into that. You should be moving on a daily basis. Writing your goals daily in the morning and reviewing them before bed. You should be measuring your health, logging how you feel. Okay, the scale and measurements. Logging how you feel and the measurements are the two important ones there, right? The scale is important, but it's not necessary all the time. Start keeping health top of mind for a new mindset. Do that. Listen to those podcasts. Go through these courses. Find time to learn knowledge on health. Shop organic. You should have cleaned the toxic foods from your pantry. You should be visiting farmers markets, seeing what they have. Check out your local health food store, those sorts of things. And you should be cooking 80% of your meals on your own. In addition, you should have figured out what those major sources of stress are in your life, and you should be reducing or eliminating them. We're going to talk more about stress in this course when it comes to gut health. All right. You should be practicing deep breathing If you've not already stopped eating processed foods, stop. Please stop eating processed foods. If something has more than 5 ingredients on the label, or if sugar is added, don't eat it. Don't buy it. Get a minimum of 5 servings of vegetables daily, and make sure you're eating that rainbow, folks. Why is gut health so critically important? I should have put that in here. It is critically important to this whole process. All right. You know, when you have that feeling in your gut, there's a reason for it. Did you know that the fetal tissue that is used to create your brain is the same as what is used to create the gut, and they are completely linked together? I mean, think about it. Think about when you have a gut feeling. Something just isn't sitting right in your gut. Aren't you usually right? I know I am. When my gut tells me something, it's just like, nope, that's not going to be a good decision. You know, if I go against my gut, every time, it's because there's things that we still don't even understand from a scientific standpoint, the way that the gut and the mind are linked. Okay, so just, you know, keep that in mind. Our gut health is so critically important. The gut is just as important as your brain or your heart. All right, your immune system lives in your gut. All right. Your microbiome. We talked about microbiome in the Western disease course where we talk about chronic disease, right? So we've talked about microbiome, and there's going to be a little bit of a review again. Actually, I have a couple of the same slides in here because they're good slides, and we need to kind of review it a little bit again, just and from a gut health perspective. So most of the serotonin in your body is created in your gut. You know, just up until a couple years ago, they thought that all of your serotonin and all of your melatonin, for that matter, was created in your brain. Turns out that the chemicals that cause you to have a good mood, a good steady mood, which is serotonin, and that allow you to fall asleep at night, being melatonin, most of it's created in your gut. So if we're destroying our guts, we're destroying our brains. We're destroying our ability to sleep. We're destroying our moods and our ability to maintain a healthy, regular mood. Okay? Cancer prevention also starts in our gut. Something else I want to talk to you about here is you got to think about your gut as a muscle. All right? It has to have time to recover. Okay? So if you are eating up until the time you go to bed at night, all right, your gut's still active digesting food for a couple hours after that. You're getting 4 to 6 hours at best of break that your digestive system's getting to recover. All right, it's a muscle. It's no different than like if you're lifting weights. If you've ever lifted weights in your life, you know that like you can't just lift the same muscle every single day. You have to have time to heal. Okay. Most people will only do the same muscle once every other day or once every 3 days even. Okay, so it has time to heal. Your gut needs time to heal. What I recommend doing, and I recommend this going forward, all right, is 12 hours every night of fasting. Now, you're like, whoa, hold on, fasting. You're telling me not to eat. Well, no, listen. What I'm telling you to do is after you eat dinner at night, let's say you eat dinner at 6 o'clock at night, and let's say you get up at 6 a.m. in the morning. Don't eat from 6 p.m. to 6 a.m. Simple. If you eat dinner at 7, you don't get up till 7, or whatever that is. Make it be 12 hours. If it's 11 or 10, is that going to kill you? No. But the longer you can make it, the better. Okay? So I want you to start doing that. If you have a special event or something and you're out with friends one night, once a week, and it's tough to do that night, that's fine, okay? It doesn't have to be a stringent, strict thing, but try to do it 80 to 90% of the time. And that's the end of chapter 1, folks. And after that, let's go ahead and jump into chapter 2. All right, hopefully you enjoyed that story. What is destroying our gut, though? All right, so lifestyle habits have destroyed our guts. It's that simple. Brain fog, anxiety, joint pain, allergies, gas, bloating, skin issues, indigestion, inflammation, asthma, autoimmune conditions, migraines, seizures, tics, OCD, Parkinson's, Alzheimer's, ADHD, and autism have all been linked to poor gut health. Think about that. What if we could knock out, maybe not everyone that gets these diseases, but a large percentage, say 75, 80% of people that get these different diseases just by focusing on gut health? What's amazing is a lot of these chronic diseases people get, it all comes down to one solution, right? One thing is causing it all, and it's poor lifestyle decisions, and one thing can fix on that's making better lifestyle decisions and eating whole foods, eating clean foods, eating the way that Mother Nature intended, being symbiotic with the planet and Mother Nature. It's really that simple. The gut and your immune system. All right, so this is a bit of a review. All right. Your system is very, very fragile. Okay. Your gut system is very, very fragile. Your immune system lives in your gut. Prevention of disease starts there. The microbiome, if you guys remember from the Western disease course, if you have not taken the Western and chronic disease course, you should go back and take that. But the microbiome, it's essentially the army that fights disease in our body. It fights off inflammation. Your gut bugs, that good bacteria is what makes up that army. So if we do things to destroy it, we're causing harm. We're causing harm to ourselves. There's things that we can do to enhance our gut health, and there's things that we can do to destroy it. The sad thing is the things that we do to enhance it take a lot of time to heal the gut. The things we can do to destroy it can happen very, very rapidly. Okay? Now, if you're constantly destroying your gut, your system becomes used to these bad foods. Your gut bugs, that army, it's like a country in chaos, right? The army's out of control, and the army starts attacking everything. This is what starts to cause all these autoimmune diseases, all these chronic diseases around, people having a ton of allergy issues, people having autoimmune conditions like fibromyalgia and arthritis and some of these other things that it's really all about. It's caused because your own good army is attacking your body. This creates chronic inflammation, all right? Your whole body becomes under attack. It increases your stress. It increases chronic disease. And your bodies always feel like they're in a flight or fight mode, okay? So when we do things like feed our microbiome fiber-rich food, complex carbohydrates, fruits, vegetables, legumes, right? A modern diet that is low in complex carbs will make your microbiome weak, right? So we want to feed our microbiome organic fruits, vegetables, legumes, grains, things that keep it healthy. When we are low on our good gut bugs, we are at greater risk of becoming obese or even diabetic, right? So as we kill off these good gut bugs, we increase our risk of obesity. We increase our risk of being diabetic. Now, your gut has that protective lining of mucus, right? That your good gut bugs feed on. Things like onions, garlic, leeks, all of these things that you see on this list, these are the things that lining like to feed on. Those bacteria like to feed on those things. And that's what makes up your microbiome. So, a weak microbiome again leads to a lot of inflammation on a lot of these diseases. There are more immune responses in your gut in one day than in the rest of your body for a lifetime. So think about that as far as how important your gut really is. All right. Everything you put in your mouth is a foreign body. Our gut bugs make a decision on letting foods in or reacting against it. So it's like, kind of think of them as the gatekeeper, right? So I see, some green bean and, oh yeah, that green bean's good. We're going to let that guy in. Oh, wait a minute. That green bean, he was carrying some bad stuff with him. He had some glypsinate on him, some Roundup, and now we have problems, right? Now we have things starting to get destroyed, and our gut bugs start to react against things that they shouldn't react against because they've gotten so used to things piggybacking and things being masked as other things. All right. When your gut bugs react against things, it automatically creates inflammation. All right. You break your ankle, that's good inflammation. It's inflammation to to prevent you from further injuring yourself, to make you slow down, to put kind of a almost a natural splint in place so you mobilize your ankle. But when you start creating inflammation inside of your body, it leads to all kinds of issues like skin rashes, mood problems. We talked earlier about melatonin and serotonin levels, right? That most of it comes from your gut. So if your gut's not healthy, those things are not being produced in your gut like they should be, and you're going to have mood issues, all right? You're also going to have joint pain, all right? Your gut bugs help to regulate your mood. It's it's crazy how much your gut and your brain are linked, all right? And it's like we're just at the surface of this scientifically. So this is just talking a little bit about your microbiome, right? Your microbiome is made of tens of trillions of cells, okay? It's, we didn't even know that the microbiome existed until the year 2000. If you pick up a textbook about health or whatever prior to year 2000, wouldn't even be mentioned. And then, like anything, once it's discovered, it takes time for people to figure things out and get a better understanding of it. So it's really just been in the last 10 to 15 years, well, I guess almost the last 20 years now, it's 2019, right, that they've really been studying this and getting an understanding of it and how important it is for our bodies. So anxiety in your gut. We want to talk about anxiety when it comes to gut health because, it's so critical to the health in your gut to not be stressed out all the time. So if you remember in the anxiety course, the reducing anxiety course, we talked about how your body starts to shut down certain activities when you're in flight or fight mode, okay? So digestion is one of those. So what do you think happens when we are constantly stressed out all the time about all this artificial stuff that it's not really fight or flight? We're worried about our job. We're worried about our kids. We're worried about our spouse. We're worried about, missing a bill. We're worried about, whatever. Okay. We're worried about our sick parents. It doesn't matter. It's creating stress, right? And we have to have a way to let that go. So we talked about meditation. We've taught you how to do that. So hopefully you're getting some good practice in and you're starting to do that on a regular basis. But have you ever wondered why you get butterflies in your stomach before doing something stressful? Or why you feel like your stomach is tied in knots after an argument? Hey, have you ever had a meeting with the toilet that went longer than expected and it wasn't caused by anything you ate? Stomach problems are one of the most common symptoms of stress and anxiety. Researchers have identified a powerful connection between the gut and the brain. Like the brain, the gut is full of nerves. It contains the largest area of nerves outside the brain, with the digestive tract and the brain sharing many of the same nerve connections. Whether it's a single nerve-wracking event or chronic worry and stress over time, stress can exact a physical toll on your digestive system. When you are anxious, some of the hormones and chemicals released by your body enter your digestive tract where they interfere with digestion. They have a negative effect on your gut flora. Your gut flora are microorganisms that live inside your digestive tract and they aid in digestion. We've talked about them. And then there's also your microbiome that these interact with. And it decreases antibody production. So you're not creating as much antibodies. You're not creating as much of the good bacteria inside your microbiome when you're stressed out because you've shut that function down because it's not needed. You're worried about the tiger or the bear right now. You're not worried about digesting your food. You're not worried about fighting off internal diseases because you're worried about this external threat. The resulting chemical imbalance can cause a number of gastrointestinal conditions. Listen, so if you've had indigestion, stomach cramps, diarrhea, constipation, loss of appetite, unnatural hunger, nausea, irritable bowel syndrome, or peptic ulcers, these all can be caused by stress. Isn't that crazy? I mean, it's crazy how much stress really affects us. And I get it. Stress is something that I have issues with almost every day. I mean, I meditate, I do all these things to keep myself calm, but I still have those moments. I still have, I have that gene that doesn't let me let go of it. It's hard for me to let go of things, right? So I have to make myself let go of things. I have to remind myself, let go of this. Quit thinking and dwelling on this thing. It's just stressing you out, right? So the real issue is just a little summary here is that it's fight or flight. Digestion is just not a top priority. Okay, so we need to get ourselves out of fight or flight because our digestive tract isn't doing what it's supposed to be doing, right? So I highly recommend, if you haven't started meditating, if you haven't started doing yoga, if you haven't started exercising, you need to start doing those things. You need to start doing things to reset your stress levels. So sleeping in your gut. Now, we talked a little bit about melatonin production, right? And melatonin is the thing that it's kind of like your lights off switch. So we're going to talk a little bit about sleep and how important sleep is to your gut health, because it's at night when you're asleep, where you're at peace, when you're hopefully not stressed out because you've let go of stuff, that your gut's going to recover the most. And this is why that intermittent fasting is so important, so your gut can shut down and rest at night and heal and be ready for the next day, just like you. All right. So it was recently discovered that, like I said, there's more melatonin created in the gut than in the brain. Now, something to keep in mind here is it's so important to get natural light during the day to get a restful night's sleep. I know this might be hard to think of, but did you know that if you go outside on a sunny day, you're going to get about 50,000 lumens, right? On a cloudy day, it's about 10,000 lumens. So a lot of people will be like, oh, well, it's cloudy outside. I'm not going to get much vitamin D. All right. Inside, you're only getting 500 to 1,000 lumens. Okay. So you're getting like 1/20th to 1/10th inside as you are on a cloudy day. You're not getting any vitamin D production from fluorescent lights or other lights inside your house or inside your workspace. All right. Natural light is the only way that you can naturally get vitamin D. So vitamin D is created by getting sunlight on your skin. Okay. It's also something that everyone should be tested for. You should go to your doctor, ask them to test you for vitamin D, especially if you're getting sick all the time, you're having immune system issues. Vitamin D could be a issue. So I do not recommend taking a vitamin D supplement until you've had a blood test from your doctor. Okay, have your doctor regulate that. Vitamin D is a supplement I take on a daily basis. Actually, my entire family takes it on a daily basis, but we're all taking it under the direction of our natural medicine doctor. Okay, so another interesting thing to talk about is blue light from your electronics. Now, our body has this natural circadian rhythm, right? So when the sun goes down, if we go back to before we had lights and before we had electricity, when the sun went down, it got dark. Now, we might have candles or something or a campfire to light things up a little bit, right? Or a torch. But that light is not the same as the sun. Light from a fire is not the same. It doesn't keep you awake at night, all right? The light from some of our lights in our house, the light from our TVs, from our computers, from our smart devices, all emit a blue light. Now, that blue light is very similar to the sun. They've done studies that show that if you're on your smart device up to the time you go to bed, your melatonin production does not start. You start to hit your brain until 60 to 90 minutes after you get off that device. So you're losing 60 to 90 minutes of good restful sleep. You might fall asleep still fast, but you're not in good deep sleep. You're losing 60 to 90 minutes of good deep sleep if you're on your smart device up until the time you go to bed. Now, in my house, we have a 1 hour before bed rule, and then we also have our phones all set. There's a setting on the iPhone, and I guess there's an app. There's a few apps that you can download for Android. There's a setting on your iPhone where you can have it dim out the light so you're not getting the blue light after certain hours. Mine automatically does it starting at 7 o'clock at night. It just automatically goes to that lower setting. And then, I go to bed at 10. I try to be off my phone by 9. All right. I try to be off of all electronic devices by 9. The TV isn't as bad. And the reason why is because it's far across the room. It's not right in your face, but still, it's still not good. So it's good to just read a book, do something before bedtime. Typically for a good 30 or 40 minutes before I go to bed, I'm just getting stuff ready for the next day anyway. I'm preparing, stuff for my next day food-wise. I'm preparing my gym bag. I'm just getting things ready for the next day, getting things ready for the kids for the next day, whatever that might be. All right. Exercise and activity, super, super important to good restful sleep. Now, I experienced this. Like if I take more than 2 days off from working out, that next day I have trouble falling asleep. I haven't exerted enough energy. I haven't burned off enough stuff, right? So it's important to exercise. Sleep is super important to your gut health. Why? Because your gut heals at night. Right? When you're not eating, when you're not doing anything, that's when it's healing. That's when it's resting its muscle to be ready for the next day. All right? Antibiotics in the gut. Antibiotics are by far the most dangerous thing in today's environment. All right? For your gut health and for your overall health. They've been overprescribed by physicians, and that's where people think the problem is. A lot of people just think, oh, it's just if I don't get prescribed an antibiotic by my doctor for this cold, then that's good. I'm not destroying my gut, or I can just take a probiotic. I can take a probiotic to counterbalance it. Now, while I do recommend, and you should talk to your doctor about this, obviously, I do think you should take probiotics if you have to take an antibiotic. Antibiotics are important. They're life-saving, but you should take them as a last resort. You really should. Because I don't know if you knew this or not, but 1 dose of Augmentin, which is the standard antibiotic they give you for a sinus infection, an ear infection, whatever, right? If you just take 1 of those, it kills 90% of the good bacteria in your gut. All those good guys, all those good army guys we were talking about that are walking around there helping your immune system, 90% of them are wiped out in 1 dose. Okay? So, let's talk about something here, though. Because it's killing those things, it's killing your microbiome, it's harming your immune system in a huge way. But you might be surprised by the amount of antibiotics that you're ingesting on a regular basis without even knowing about it. Now, if you're eating regular industrialized meats, regular chicken, beef, fish even that's farm raised, you're eating a ton of antibiotics. Because guess what? That food was fed antibiotics. If I take you through the life of a cow for just a second, right? The life of an industrialized cow, they don't get to move around very much. They're in very tight quarters. They're fed grain, they're fed corn and soy, and they're even fed dead parts of other animals, including themselves and their hooves and things like that. That is not what that animal is intended to eat, okay? So what ends up happening is inside of that animal, they start to get really toxic. They start to get really acidic. Their omega-6 levels, their omega-6 levels get super high. And they start to get sick. They start to get disease. They start to get infections. So in order to counterbalance that, they give them antibiotics. All right? So they give them antibiotics to keep them healthy and give them the cheapest food possible. Now that cow, what it should be doing is it should be grazing out in a pasture, eating grass and hay and things like that. If it were doing that, it would be very high in omega-3 fatty acids, not omega-6. So not only when you eat that piece of meat are you getting a ton of omega-6 fatty acids over the out of balance with the omega-3s. So as you're eating all these omega-6, you're getting out of balance. And we're going to talk more about this in our meat and dairy course. But because of the antibiotics, you're also getting all these antibiotics that cow ate. And it's destroying your gut. Quick little story. When I was going through my original changes and I went vegan, all of my acid reflux went away within like a few weeks. I mean, I was taking like Pepsid and I still had acid reflux. And it was after a couple of months, I thought, hey, my acid reflux is gone. Maybe the Pepcid's working. I thought, yeah, maybe it's just gone. So I quit taking the Pepcid, and it was gone. It was awesome. It was totally gone. And I noticed that the things that really set me off were dairy and meat down the road, right? And I discovered this a little bit later on as I, maybe made a few exceptions here and there as I did add meat back into my diet 4 or 5 years later. And I only added clean meats. However, I might be out at a work dinner or something, and instead of getting the wild-caught fish, I really wanted the steak, and I got it. Well, I noticed that, I got sick to my stomach, and I started to get like acid reflux again. And guess what? When I sat back and I thought about it, I was like, why did I eat that? Why did I eat it? Right? I probably set my gut health back a week to a month or more by eating one steak. So that's why it's so important to eat very clean. I'm not trying to tell you guys this to scare you or say, oh my God, I can never go out and eat a steak at, whatever, wherever you like to go, Ruth's Chris, whatever. What I'm telling you is there's consequences to it, right? And now as you're being educated and you have the knowledge and you have the power with the knowledge, you have to make responsible decisions for yourself and for your family. So other issues here. So conventional produce, right? When we talk about conventional produce, we talked about glypsinate, right? Glypsinate, otherwise known as Roundup, is categorized as an antibiotic. And think about it, what's it do? It kills bugs, right? It kills bugs. That's what it is designed to do. So if you're eating conventional produce, there's glypsinate in it. I guarantee it. And guess what? You're killing your gut. All right, you cannot outbalance the destruction in pesticides and herbicides when you eat them by saying, well, I ate a salad. Okay? It doesn't work that way. You're still ingesting all of those poisons. You're still ingesting those antibiotics that are killing your gut health. All right? It doesn't balance out. I know this one's rough, swimming pools, and I love to swim. I love to do laps, and I still do it. But chlorine is an antibiotic. All right? So just try not to drink the water. Your skin is your biggest organ. It does get absorbed in your skin. There haven't really been many studies on this matter, but where you really want to stay away from chlorine, I'm not saying not to swim, right? But where you really want to stay away from chlorine is in your drinking water. So most public water utilities are chlorinating and putting fluoride, which is also an antibiotic, by the way, in your drinking water. So if you're drinking fluoride, there's been several studies on fluoride, and several studies have linked fluoride to mental disorders and things like that. And it's interesting, as we've learned more about the microbiome and more about the gut, there's a link there. Like the fluoride that you're drinking all of these antibiotics, it's killing your gut health, which is, guess what? Killing your mood because your serotonin and melatonin are off, and it's all just one nasty chain reaction. So I highly recommend reverse osmosis in your house, or get distilled water or mineral water from wherever, but make sure you're getting water that hasn't been chlorinated and there's no fluoride in it. All right. And I highly recommend using fluoride-free toothpaste and fluoride-free mouthwash, those sorts of things. We don't use any fluoride in my house. I won't even take fluoride when I go to the dentist. Tell them no thanks, don't want it. People have lived thousands of years and had healthy teeth without fluoride. As a matter of fact, our teeth have gotten much worse over the last 100 years or so than they were in the past. It's kind of ironic, and it has a lot to do with our diets, right? And all of this consumption of things we shouldn't be consuming. Antibiotic soaps and hand sanitizers. Okay, for you moms that are listening to this, I want you to brace yourselves. But every time you sanitize your kids' hands, you sanitize your hands with these antibacterial hand sanitizers, you're causing more harm than good. okay? I won't use them. I get like the all natural, no antibiotics, like hand sanitizer. It's more like a lemon type thing, a little spray bottle. Keep it in the car, just to clean off my hands if I need to. But look, bacteria is part of life. Okay, now you want to make sure you're not getting salmonella or something like that while you're cooking. But you know what? Soap is fine. Just regular soap. Okay, stop using the antibiotic stuff. All right, other things out there that destroy your gut health. Guys, painkillers. Things like ibuprofen, really tough on your gut and your gut health. All right? So think about it when you're in a little bit of pain. You got a little, inflammation. You got a little, neck ache, something like that. Is it worth taking the ibuprofen? All right? Is it worth taking the painkiller? Maybe there's something you can find. You can find like an arnica rub or something like that, or arnica tablets to help with inflammation. There are other options. Talk to your natural medicine doctor. Drinking too much alcohol can kill your gut. Think about this for a second, guys. If you're trying to have a healthy gut and you drink every day, what did we used to use alcohol for? What do you buy rubbing alcohol for? As a disinfectant to kill bacteria, okay, and viruses. So think about it. This stuff's strong enough to kill bacteria and viruses, so therefore, wouldn't it kind of be an antibiotic in a way? So you're drinking alcohol and you're killing the good stuff in your gut. Now, there are studies that show things like red wine and whatnot do help and help balance things out, but you have to watch what you're buying. Okay, you really do. By all means, the hard stuff is not good at any way for you, and beer probably has almost no benefits as well. Red wine, I do believe, has some benefits in moderation, but there is a fine line between 1 glass and 1.5 to 2. Okay? So, and you shouldn't be having a glass a day, really. You should, it's not gonna help your health that much. But look for organic types of grapes, and look for wines that are not. If it's not organic, look for stuff that is not from the U.S. All right? Hate to say it, I love buying American, but you know what? Not when it comes to wine, because we do not regulate sulfates. Do a little research. Find places like in Europe where there at least are regulations on sulfates. Sulfates are actually preservatives, and those preservatives, if you've ever had like a really bad hangover after 1 glass of wine, it's probably because of the sulfates. All right? Smoking, guys, goes without saying, all right? Don't smoke. That's stupid. It'll destroy your gut health, especially in today's day and age. All right, cancer prevention and the gut. So you look at the cell structure on the left here, and you see like the healthy cells. You got your nucleus and in the middle, and you got the cytoplasm, which is, and you've got like then the cell walls, right? Well, what happens with cancer is cancer actually starts when the cell wall begins to break down. Okay, the cell wall comes to break down, and it lets mutations start to happen. Now, we get cancer cells in our bodies all the time. All right, it's actually natural. Cells go bad. They get destroyed then by your immune system, right? Now, what happens, though, is when the cells start to get misformed and mutilated so fast that the immune system can't keep up, this is when cancer starts to actually form, and you start to get tumors and cysts and things like that. So, think about this for a minute. Where's your immune system live? Your immune system lives in your gut. All right, so if we're not taking care of that immune system, we're not taking care of our gut, we are making ourselves more susceptible to cancer. All right? A healthy gut is much more efficient at digesting natural materials, right? So your cells need natural materials. Your body needs natural materials, right? It needs those phytonutrients and micronutrients. It needs minerals. It needs vitamins. It needs all of these things to create healthy cells and healthy cell walls. All right, so if we are not feeding ourselves the good stuff, those natural materials, then our cell walls begin to break down. All right, a healthy gut does a much better job at eliminating toxins, all right, that cause cancer than a non-healthy gut. So your gut itself, if you ingest a toxin, a healthy gut has a much easier time expelling that. If you've ingested toxin after toxin after toxin, eventually your gut health goes down and you can no longer expel the toxins, and you then end up taking the toxins into your fat cells and into your body, okay? So as you can see here from this drawing, it shows cancer cells multiplying basically. So you end up with one cell, it's healthy, it becomes cancerous, it splits off, it becomes 2 cancer cells, 4 cancer cells, and so on and so forth. So if your immune system can't keep up, you have a problem. All right, chronic diseases that can be improved by focusing on your gut health. All right, yes, obesity is actually caused by inflammation, okay? Things like your appendix, tonsils, if you need to have those things out, those are precursors to bigger problems. All right, I've had several clients, and almost every one of them had something with their lymphatic system, be it an appendix, a tonsil, something like that, their lymph nodes, something has gone wrong in that lymphatic system prior to their diagnosis of a major issue, be it heart disease, be it diabetes, whatever that is. Okay. So this is a long list. I'm not going to read through them all. We've talked about these a few times, and we talked about this in the chronic disease course. This is pretty much the same list. So that is the end of chapter 2, folks. Okay, all right, enough talk about how we got to the point that we're at and how we've destroyed our guts and all of the horrible, horrible things we've done up to this point in our lives for our guts. Now we're going to talk about how we're going to get our guts healthy, folks. All right, healing the gut all starts with our lifestyle decisions. Everything we eat is either feeding disease or feeding health. There's no in-between foods that are neutral. Okay, there's no, this food doesn't do any harm, doesn't do any good. Now, those foods don't exist, folks. Be nice if they did. All right, the great news, here's a solution. All right, we eat an anti-inflammatory diet. We eat the rainbow. We eat at least 5 servings of vegetables, a minimum a day. We eat our phytonutrients that are super important for our defense. Guess what? It's going to get better. Our gut's going to get better. All right? All right, I also recommend watching the Gerson Miracle video or movie. That movie is in the extra resources section in the chronic disease course. Actually, you can watch it for free on YouTube. I recommend fasting for 12 hours a day. Okay, this is going to help you. All right, don't eat after dinner. Not till the next morning. Not till next morning at breakfast. We want to focus on fixing our microbiome, right? We want to get those armies under control so they're not causing us problems. They're not causing us chronic diseases, all right? We want to discipline our immune system so it only responds when it needs to. So one thing I really recommend you doing is going to see a natural medicine doctor. Get your gut tested. Find out what supplements you can take to accelerate your way to healing. Don't just start willy-nilly taking supplements and probiotics. Get your gut tested. They'll do stool tests. They'll do urine tests. They'll do a bunch of different blood tests to see how your gut's doing and see where your imbalances are. But the first step is to start eating a clean diet. Stop eating pesticides. Stop eating conventional produce. Stop eating industrialized meats. Start eating organic. Start eating grass-fed, pasture-raised, wild-caught. Okay? Try to eliminate your ingestion of antibiotics. If you do the things I just told you to do, you're going to greatly eliminate that or limit that to a very, very bare minimum. All right? Again, this is what I just told you. Now, the next thing is also another thing is stop using those antibacterial soaps and hand sanitizers. All right? Comparing your food choices, right? The industrialized food complex, you're getting highly processed foods that are loaded with scientifically created chemicals. Your fruits and vegetables are GMO and or laced with herbicides and pesticides / antibiotics. Your meat and dairy are loaded with antibiotics, growth hormones, and are fed unnatural diets to make them inflamed for higher yields. Animals live in high-stress environments and pass those stress hormones on to us. All All right, they also pass on all those antibiotics and everything else they're given. Most of the foods are dead and void of phytonutrients. By the way, on the antibiotics and like the cattle and stuff, it's not like, oh, well, maybe my cow wasn't sick. Bullcrap. All right, they're all given antibiotics unless you're buying pasture raised. All right, unless you're buying, something that says it wasn't given antibiotics, and even then they get around it. Okay, some of those labels that say never given antibiotics. Well, guess what? They'll use something else that's not classified as an antibiotic that does the same thing. Okay, so you've got to be careful. When you read a package of chicken and it says cage free, free range, or no antibiotics ever given, no growth hormone, it's all marketing BS. That chicken is still toxic, okay? Unless it's a pasture-raised chicken, it's toxic. Pasture-raised is the only thing with chicken, the only thing with beef, pasture-raised, grass-fed. That's it, okay? Anything else, if it says your chicken was fed vegetarian feed, guess what? Chickens aren't vegetarian. They're not eating what they're supposed to eat, all right? Organic whole foods. You want to eat organic whole foods that are responsibly grown, foods that are free from chemicals, fruits and vegetables that are living and loaded with phytonutrients. This is going to help heal your microbiome. You want to eat meats and dairy that are fed with Mother Nature, with what made Mother Nature design the animal to eat. All right, that way they'll be rich in omega-3s, and they will cut down on your inflammation in your body. So let's take action. Let's start eating an anti-inflammatory diet if we're not already. Hopefully you guys started a couple weeks ago, like slowly incorporating this stuff, right? But this is just more fuel as to why you need to do this. This is about the why and how to get going, right? Eliminate your ingestion of antibiotics. It's so important. Okay, have you ever heard the phrase, 1 step forward, 2 steps back? Well, if you keep taking 1 step forward and 2 steps back, you're going to end up several steps back. All right? So that's what happens. You eat healthy. Let's say you eat healthy all week and you're doing such a good job. You go out at night on the weekend with your buddies and you go to a steakhouse and you eat a steak that's been loaded up with antibiotics and you have 4 or 5 beers. You just killed all the good work you did and set yourself back negative. Okay? You could have been doing good for 3 months and you just killed it in one night. Okay? So keep that in mind. Stop using those antibacterial soaps and hand sanitizers. Fast for 12 hours a day. No food after dinner and until breakfast. Give your gut a break. Guys, I notice a huge difference when I do this and when I don't do it. All right? And I got to admit, I like a snack at night. I like when, I usually watch about an hour of TV a night. That's my little relax time, my decompress time, and watch something on Netflix. Guess what? I like to eat then. I like to have a snack. Why? Because my whole life, ever since I was a child, you'd have like dessert or snack while you're watching TV. It's hard for me not to, but I have to force myself not to do it. I have to remind myself and look, it's one of my goals. I have it written as a goal. I will not eat after dinner. Boom, goal. I look at my goals at night. Okay, I'm not going to do it. All right? Does that mean 100% of the time I don't do it? Heck no. I'm just like everybody else. All right? Sometimes I still have a snack. Sometimes I'm actually hungry and I'm like, all right, I'm going to have a snack. All right? If you know your gut is in really bad shape, seek out a natural medicine doctor to jumpstart your recovery. I recommend doing that regardless. Okay? Focus on your gut. Getting your gut healthy is all about consistently making healthy choices, folks. Consistency is the key here. All right? Hey, have a great one. It was great educating you, and I hope you got something out of this. Thank you.